I am super excited about today's lesson. I love synchronicity, so I'm going to tell you the backstory first. The backstory is that about a month ago, maybe a little more, David and I decided that we would work a little extra hours to do something today a little bit more entertaining and use some props. So you know that we do keep our focus on the idea of love and law and the blend of the two, how God works and how God works through us, because that is indeed what motivates and inspires us to take on a new role each and every time we hear it. I mean, I've been steeped in this idea of New Thought for many years, and Science of Mind for then many more even, and still we're always in our humanity hearing something that we already knew and going, oh yeah. How often do I suddenly say to myself, just treat on that? And, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that in the very first moment? Training ourselves to do that. And so coming together each Sunday and studying love and law and looking at how we can use principles to change our lives in any way that we desire is powerful. And yet we wanted to do a little something different. So we began researching and discussing the archetypes of Jung, and we had a really good start on it when we got the November-December Science of Mind magazine this past week, and realized that there were articles in there in the November-December, two-part series. It was the second part of it. Evidently, I missed it in June, which I see as synchronistic, that those ideas were coming out at the same time that we've been planting those seeds for ourselves. So we read the articles, and the authors, Carol Pearson and Carol Burbank, have written their version of Jung's archetypes. We are talking today about 12 of the archetypes, although there are many more. Wikipedia says that there are over 100, and some people believe that there are unlimited archetypes. So don't feel locked in or caged in to any of these, and I invite you to look at which ones speak to you, which ones you could find more balance in, rather than which ones you see David and I can find more balance in, because we're doing our own work with that one and loving it. So what is an archetype? They are means of connecting with the divine within us. Our mind, our thoughts, our feelings are ways we use our psychological system to make this divine connection. So archetypes are universal. They are inborn models of people and personalities that play an influencing role in our behaviors. So they're kind of fun to play with. They are like a mythic character that exists within and symbolizes our motivations. For example, we can look at a situation presently we're experiencing in our life and determine if we're the hero or if we're the protagonist of our own personal life story. We also each have a shadow side, which some believe is inferior. I don't happen to buy into that. I believe that there are times when we reject the shadow side, or when we just deny that the shadow side is present with us. But I also believe that it helps us. It helps us to stay on the right path sometimes by giving us a little nudge and realizing we don't want to go on that path. We want this path, this archetype. So archetypes assist in our survival, our success, and in helping us to be the best version of ourselves.
Well, I've started looking at this, and I had this great idea of using the archetypes of God We've often talked about ourselves as having archetypes in our own personality, our own psyche, and whatever. But I thought, what about archetypes of God? You know, we've been talking a lot about omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence, and those are basically three aspects of the one essence of all that is. We quite often hear talk about the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, or the Holy Spirit, and we wonder how can there be three parts of the one thing? And it's a little bit confusing. Or we hear about the Father, Mother God. Well, how can one thing have two different sexual identities? And so it's important for us to remember that God is expressed in unlimited expressions, and an unlimited variety of possibilities. And each one is a unique archetype. That includes you. You are a unique facet or a unique archetype of the God essence. We quite often hear about dualism, the idea of right and wrong competing against each other, particularly at this time of year, of the dark side of all that is. And it's interesting that Judaism, the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition, is the only spiritual tradition in which the quality of moral evil is attributed to a nature of God. And yet they all proclaim that there is only one all-powerful God. But they do believe that there is something that is fighting against that all-powerful good. That's dualism. Actually, the dualism started in Zoroastrianism in 2000 BC with the idea that life is all about the forces of evil and the forces of good fighting against each other, and eventually the forces of good will overpower in the end. In Taoism, in yin and yang are both equally void of moral qualities such as good and evil. And in Hindu Buddhism, destructive deities are referred to as wrathful, but not evil. Most world traditions, spiritual traditions, recognize that we prosper from cooperation and balance rather than eliminating opposing forces. And I believe the idea of feeling that we need to destroy a destructive force is a result of us believing that there is a destructive force in the first place. So we're believing we need to actually destroy something that we are automatically creating on our own. So in nature of the archetypes of God, there are 33 Hindu deities and hundreds of lesser deities, but all are aspects of the one God, or Brahman. Hinduism, so therefore, is monotheistic. They do believe in the one God with a whole lot of different expressions or ideas, aspects of the one God. In Jewish Kabbalah, there are 10 sephirot, which are attributes or emanations through which the infinite reveals itself and continuously creates both the physical realm and the higher metaphysical realms. And of course, we all know about Greek mythology. There are 12 principal deities in the Greek pantheon. There were actually 17 gods at one time or another, but there were only 12 at any one time in the Greek pantheon. But they all were of the Greek pantheon. They were all of the Olympians, so they were all of one basic energy source. But Greek mythology is a valuable lesson in the folly of dealing with consequences of fighting amongst ourselves, and the value of cooperating and working together, and using those essences of who we are to balance everything out. And those are archetypes.
So as we go through these, which archetype are you? What are your strengths? And which ones are ones that you might like to be more of? The first one is the idealist. The idealist becomes wiser over time. The idealist wants safety. They want to feel safe and secure. And the way that they look to feel safe is to realize that there is something greater than themselves. And they believe that whatever happens reveals itself to be the highest good. So they affirm goodness, they practice gratitude, and they trust themselves. An example of the idealist might be someone who turns to spirit whenever faced with the appearance of a perceived unfavorable or unpleasant situation. The idealist we are going to symbolize today in two ways, because David and I didn't see these all exactly the same way.
Go figure.
So he saw the idealist as someone that would be feathery and Pollyanna-ish. And this did light up, but it lost its batteries, so you'll just have to go with it. Whereas I saw the idealist as someone who would see that greater something beyond the horizons. They would see that greater something and have faith in it and use it in their life for good. So we have two symbols for this one.
The next one is the realist. Like the idealist, the realist desires safety. They often believe they must face conditions as they are due to past neglect and abuse, and they gravitate toward others who are suffering hardships as well. However, in Science of Mind, they learn to utilize the practice of oneness to acquire grounding and contribute their skills for the good of the whole. The realist is represented by grounded self-assessment and a logical approach, confidence that right action will bring right results. So I brought a calculator because I can calculate and organize and order my world.
The next one is the caregiver archetype. The caregiver is nurturing and protective. They tend to be people that are patient, competent, and great multitaskers. They're aware that everyone needs comfort, compassion, and care, and at some point in their life, they too need that. And so they go out and they offer their help to others. In Science of Mind, we often call that the law of circulation in action. Authentic caregiving means a healthy balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. So the opposite of the caregiver is the victim. That's a caregiver who goes too far and ends up being or feeling as though they are the victim of others or their own personal feelings of guilt or inadequacy. Their weakness is saying, the caregiver's weakness is saying, not knowing how to say no when they really mean no, and also trying to fix everyone and keep everyone happy. And we all know that's an impossible task, where our responsibility is to make ourselves happy and giving through loving kindness to the world, but not to the point that we've stepped over the line. So the authentic caregiver knows that it is not their job to fix anyone or the world. They give selflessly and they give in balance. So the caregiver is often found in the career of nurse, teacher, or housekeeper. And the caregiver in any of those careers must watch that balance to make sure they're not saying yes when they really mean no, that they're taking care of themselves, because we can't take care of others if we don't take care of ourselves. So the caregiver is represented by the first aid kit.
The next archetype is the warrior. The warrior, quickly aware of danger and looks for the cause. They are protective and work to eliminate danger. They recognize and distinguish between harmful and effective actions. They bring strength to overcome evil and destruction. Like the hero archetype, the warrior brings power and leadership. However, the warrior can be depicted as aggressive. So training your warrior side to balance out its goodness with its courage is wise. Most common careers for warrior types are police, firefighters, and military service, of course. They connect with core values, they let go of negative thoughts, and they claim the courage to hold and manifest positive and protective solutions. I very much identify with this archetype because of my inner strength. So I brought this to represent the warrior. My inner strength. Hold on a second.
Oh, easy peasy.
He has a lot of inner strength.
I guess
Not a
so.
warrior.
Oh,
Put this
a
down.
little help there. Easy. The next one is the seeker. The seeker answers the call to adventure. The seeker is adventurous and seeks out something better while at the same time enjoying the journey along the way. They're always seeking for that which helps them to thrive. And they often have an urge to acquire a deeper sense of knowledge within. And they have a desire to feel authentic in all of their endeavors. The seeker might say something like this: let's find a way to look beyond our present horizon. And so the seeker is represented by that which can see beyond our personal sights with the binoculars.
Next is the revolutionary. The revolutionary links with the creative mind. It refuses to allow any obstacle to get in the way of the highest vision. They are unconventional thinkers who develop cutting-edge approaches. They tend to challenge the status quo and motivate others to think differently. They can be seen as nonconformists, rebels, contrarians, and they don't like to hear the phrase "because you've always done it this way." Their weakness is they may get so focused on their agenda that they disregard the feelings or needs of others. Finding the balance between stepping into the arena disruptively versus stepping into success to access the best solution for all leads the revolutionary to a higher state of being. And so I brought, of course, the revolutionary.
And I noticed you really took a stand there. The next one is the lover. The lover is driven by an inner sense of love for who and what they love. They have commitment to support and to cherish. They have a deep connection to their emotions and to the idea of being affectionate. The shadow side of the lover is the one that is being engaged in addictions to someone or something. Or they might have the feeling that they're unwanted or unloved. Science of Mind teaches that we draw love to us as we develop a mental equivalent with that love. So the healthy lover archetype is committed and faithful. They might say to you, "Come, hell or high water, or peace and joy, I am in this to stay." And so, of course, they are represented by the heart.
The next archetype is the jester. The jester just loves to be spontaneous and have a good time. They help us lighten up. They find humor in all things, including the horrible. The jester is the guy who was the class clown in school. Jester archetypes would say, "Hey guys, let's just go with the flow," or "let's just improvise." And they make fun of sacred cows. They look for light and joy. And so, of course, for the jester, I had to bring the jester.
It's perfectly. And I think it was your idea to put everything on a string so I could hold it all. Jester. The next one is the ruler. The ruler gives great value to order, especially when it creates a system that makes life work better. In Science of Mind, we use and teach with tools and practices to claim our power to create our best life. And so the ruler is, of course, symbolized by the princess crown.
Ooh, so pretty.
Thank you.
The next is the sage. The sage is logical and insightful. The sage uses a complex thinking system to seek truth. They love to figure things out through study and identification of facts. It's the personification of the self that brings wisdom. They love to learn, they're curious, they love to study and research complex understanding and thinking. So of course, for the, let me get this off. For the sage, I brought the scholar. There we go.
The next one is the creator. The creator tends to weave their realities into artistic and beautiful forms around them. They gain a better understanding of their truest self as they see that around them as a mirror image. The creator is all about oneness, one life, and seeing that which is around them as beautiful and as an extension of themselves. In Science of Mind, we mentally link with spirit to shape our highest potential creativity. A creator might say something like, I am co-creator with the divine perfection of life, and my works are magnificent. And so the creator takes out and paints a life that they love around them and within them.
I guess I'm not identifying with my sage very well today.
Well, the jester worked really well.
That's a figure, doesn't it? The last archetype is the magician. Although there are many different archetypes active in our psyche, few hold so much importance and dominance as the magician. This aspect of the self seeks inner spiritual truths that are invisible to the eye. The magician looks at that which mirrors law and our ever-changing perceptions. In Science of Mind, we use our inner magician to shift consciousness towards that which we desire, or a transformation that leads to healing. So I brought for the magician a magician's hat, and also brought a wand, a magical wand for Deborah.
Oh, thank you.
She's got
They make you all abundant and happy and filled with joy and peace and love, and you as well. And then the caregiver in me is going to just pat down your hair a bit.
And there is no archetypical rabbit in this hat. So each of us, in each of these, is active in each of us, under the surface, working for us in the background all the time. We constantly carry a lot of potential resources within us, that reside within us, that we can use at any time to benefit ourselves and to benefit our world.
So I hope you, like me, when you recognize one of the archetypes within, and it's a positive one, you are a little cheerleader for yourself. And if you recognize one that you're going, ooh, I really do that, I really did that, I really said that, that you are able to kind of have a little giggle and say, thank you that I caught it. Now I can change it. Enjoy your multiple personalities as much as I do. So it is. I'm not sure.
Maybe we should do one of these on.
The one that we identify with
Yes.
the most.